Okay, welcome back. So we ended the last video by getting you into MyITLab, showing you the ebook that is in MyITLab. And I know that can be just a little confusing, so just to clarify. So the reason I showed you that is that if you got the MyITLab, you got the ebook. It is inside of MyITLab, okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to finish talking about MyITLab and start a discussion about the quizzes. When we might finish, we'll see how quickly, hopefully I can get through this. So let's go back to the course. So I know we've been every time going over this, so let's just do it again. Is that what we're working on here in this series of videos is an introduction to the course. And what your job is to watch the videos, right? So now we're on, what is this, the third one, right? So this one, let's actually start naming them. I've decided after thinking about this, I actually want you to name them, right? It's not just video one, right? So if you've done this, it's okay to go ahead and modify it, right? So let me come up here, right? So the second video was about classwork, right? Yes, I can type in MyITLab, right? And so you have some notes on that. Oh, actually, yeah, remember, I have to do notes here, something in there. And then this one will be MyITLab and quizzes. Okay, so make that a heading and take your notes in here, right? So again, we're continuing working on save as draft. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So now, remember, how do you get into MyITLab? Is you click into MyITLab, and then you click into the course, and because it already knows, it should not ask you to log in. I have had a situation, though, I'll just tell you this, where I clicked on that item, and I was still in Blackboard, and I had to click on it again. Hopefully you won't have that experience. So in here, by the way, I'm just going to click back at courses for a moment. And this is often, oh, maintenance, okay, good. I guess this is not the screen I wanted to see, so let me go back. I thought actually it would tell you there, and maybe it's on the account here. Let me go here, and that's where you have to log in. So that's where it would tell you, and I think it does warn you if you did this temporary account. And remember, and make sure you put this in your notes, is if you do the temporary 14-day account, you have to actually convert it to a paid account or you lose the work you've done. Okay, so once you're in, you go to course materials. And so as I talked about last time, there are 4 items. This is the textbook, which I still have open here, and I'm having that open for a reason. I have Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So our first item, which is due at the beginning of week 2, is the Word exam, okay? So let's talk about this. We have a training, an exam, and a practical exam. So in your notes, here's what I should see. Trainings are not required. They are highly suggested, okay? Exams are required, okay? And you can, in both examples, in training and exams, I allow you to take them multiple times, okay? If you don't complete the exam by the due date, and this is true of all work, actually, in this class, if you don't complete it by the due date, I put a 0 in your grade book, okay? So trainings actually prepare you for exams, but honestly, I've set them up to where they almost look identical. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm actually going to click on the training. And what you'll see here is word 1, 2, and 3. Only word 1 is the first one we have to do. Again, if you're not sure, go back to calendar. In calendar, you will see when you're starting to look in here, right here's our first item, our Word chapter 1. And remember, when it says, and I've said this before, but when it doesn't give you a link to go to the item, what you should be saying in your head and what I should see in your notes is if it doesn't give me a link from the calendar, that means it's a MyITLab item. Okay, but I'm trying to remember when and actually our chapter quiz, right, is the ebook is in MyITLab, but the test is in Blackboard. And how I know it's in Blackboard is it gives me the link, okay? So you'll get used to that, I suspect, pretty soon. So then you can see on Wednesday of the second week, you'll have your Chapter 2 exam for Word. Okay, so let's go back here. So in your notes, you've said, are the trainings required or not? The answer is no, but there is a reason you want to complete them that I will talk about soon, because it's going to give you what's called a pass. And again, that's a preview of something to come. Now what I can tell over here is that I actually started this. It's actually in progress again. Now that will not show up in Blackboard, but in here, but it wouldn't show up in Blackboard anyway because it's not a graded item, okay? So I'm going to click on this simulation, and what will happen here is it will open up a new window. Okay, so the first thing that may happen is if your browser blocks this, you may get a message saying it blocked it. And there is some information on the MyITLab for setting up your computer. Okay, so making sure you're good to go. I'll put those links, and matter of fact, I'll try to find them at the end of this. So here is our first word exam, or training, sorry. And so this is actually Windows 8. So you're simulating, you're not using Office or Windows 8, you're simulating it. So what it's telling you here is what you need to do. Okay, so even it says start Word. So I actually know I have to scroll over here to find Word. So you might say, well, how do I know that? How would I know that? Well, there's something called learning aids. Okay, so let me actually show you. There's 3 ways. You can read about it, you can watch, or you can practice. Watch will show you how the things work. Practice will walk you through it. So let me fire up practice for a minute. Okay, so practice is what I see many students like to use, and it'll give you some information here. And it'll say in Windows 8, so you can actually do in the start, right? So you can type. Shows you can, and my screen is a little small, so it's actually hard to see this, but I happen to know I can also just go over here and I can click on it. So then that shows me practice, shows me how to do it. Okay, and then it shows me to click here. Now in practice, I'm actually not getting the points for it yet. Okay, now in order to do that, I would actually have to do this myself, where I scroll over, I click on here. So when you're practicing, you're not getting any of, and in this case points is a little confusing because you're not required to do training, but a point is just an item that you've completed, okay? So actually you can see here I'm on question 1 of 29 questions. There's 5 attempts remaining, and what that means is for every question you have 5 attempts, right? So I'm not in training anymore. It dropped me out. It wants me to do it, so I'm going to click on it. And then it wants me to type something, right? And by the way, make sure you very carefully, because I know I've done this, 1, 2, okay? And now it wants me to type some more. Now I'm not going to have you sit through my entire having to do this, because this is actually the part that you will do. But my point while I'm typing is that it is very important that you do exactly what it wants, because if you don't, it will give you an error. Now watch what's happening here. And actually it's not. Can you see that I'm about to run out to see the text? So you can either make this text smaller, you can decrease the size so I can see more of it, right? Or you can move it up and down. All right, so I want you to see that. So those are, and again, I'm going to do this because I'm not done yet. If I needed help, I'd use the learning aids. I'm not done yet. I'm going to hit save. Yep, okay. So what this shows me here is that I've started it, I'm in progress, but I haven't completed the training. Okay, so let me just show you by looking at Word on, so trainings required or not? No, they're not required, but I highly suggest you do them because once you do the trainings, the exams go really quick because it's basically the same thing. So you get it, it's a double dose, and in some cases that's a great idea because you get the concept twice. So now I'm moving into the exam. Okay, so now I've opened up the exam, and again, if you don't see this pop up, that's because you may need to do a little setup on your computer. Right, so I'm going to actually see where that start is. Display. So this is the same thing. Again, my learning aids are here, right? So I go into Word, but the difference is here, I'm in the exam. So the exam is actually what is going to get placed in the Blackboard once I complete it. Okay, it's the same idea, same learning aids. Okay, I'm going to hit save. I'm not going to complete this. So once I do make it out of it, okay, because if I was complete with it, right, then I would get a score here showing me that. And again, you can take these multiple times. I can't remember how many times I allowed you to take them. I think unlimited, and for every question you have 5 attempts. Okay, so what will happen though? Let me just stop right there. So you have to complete the exams. So trainings are optional. Practical exams require you to actually do something in Word. Okay, so once you complete the exam and the practical exam, after about 24 hours or whenever I run it, then those things will show up in my grade in Blackboard. And that's how the two are integrated. So when you complete stuff in MyITLab, when you complete work, in this case exams and practical exams, that they will show up eventually in Blackboard. Okay? Now, in your notes, make sure you've distinguished or made a distinction between exams and practical exams. So let me just tell you, exams are simulated. They don't require you to have Windows, they don't require you to have Office, but the practical exams do require you to have the actual program. So in this case, we have a grader project, and this is going to come up. So in your notes, now I'm talking about the practical, or what we call the grader project. So in this case, you can download the files, you have some starter files that you have, you work on it, and then you upload a completed file. Okay, so let me just show you. I'm going to go ahead and download the files. So when in your notes, when you're doing the practical exams, and I think this is true for Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, I do this. I recommend downloading all the files, do a zip file, and then if I open the zip file, it actually is showing me the contents of the zip file. So what I need to do is extract all the files. Okay, because you can't really work on them when they're in the zip file right here. So in your notes, download the zip file, extract it, and you're going to want to refer back to these notes when you actually do this work. Okay, so then we have the grader. Okay, so the grader file, this is where, by the way, if you didn't have Microsoft Word, you can get Microsoft Word for free, okay, from Fresno City. So I'm going to go ahead, hit enabled here, and this is actually the file that you will be working on. Okay, so that's the file you're working on. I'm going to go back to so in this case, I know I'm looking at the actual directory, right? And this first one in here is actually the steps. I'm going to enable editing. So these are all the steps you do to this file, okay? Now I will give you some recommendations here. Okay, so put this in your notes. Don't rename the file you're working this on. So this file right here, go whatever this grader file, do not rename it. Okay, but this is the file you do all the work to, and then when you're done, right, and you can close this and come back later, then you'll upload that file back in the Blackboard. Okay, so hopefully you got some good notes on that. I'm just going to minimize this for a second. So hopefully in your notes what you got was the difference between the exams and the what we call the grader or the practical exams. So this is simulated, this requires the full program. These are not required but are optional and highly suggested for a reason I will tell you in a second. So let's start with talking about, I didn't get as much time as I wanted here, but chapter quizzes. So each chapter has a quiz, and you open it up and you begin it, and this is what you will see. So chapter quizzes are related to the textbook. Okay, so in this case it's 25 questions from the textbook pulled randomly, and then what you will do is go through and answer these questions and then hit submit when you're done. And where you will find the textbook, if you were using MyITLab only, is here, and then you can come in here and use this really important feature called search, and that's what I'll pick up on the next video.